Hi everyone. Happy Wednesday. I am leaving for California tomorrow. I'm so excited. And I am in my room. I normally do my updates in my room when he gets home because otherwise I'm telling him to be quiet or go upstairs when I do on the main floor. So it's just easier if I let him do his thing since he's home and I do these little updates in my room for you. So hi everyone. So for those of you who have not been following my updates, my name is Kylene Terhune. I'm a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. I have healed my gut, balanced my hormones, and recently got diagnosed with Hodgkins lymphoma. So you might be wondering, how can I be so healthy and get cancer? Well, we wondered the same thing, and I've done a lot of asking why and kind of trying to think back through my history. And one thing that really sticks out to me is, first of all, I found pictures that this was in my body because there's a lump on my neck. So I looked back at pictures, and first of all, I found out that this was in my body before I even did all of those health building things that I've done the past couple years. I found pictures that showed that this was developing in 2016. So if anything, I've probably staved it off or slowed it down a little bit over the past years as I've really worked on other systems in my body. Hi Jenny, hey Carolyn, hey ladies. So that's one answer to that. And the other answer that I've kind of come to is it explains a lot. Like why some people can do what I do and feel better in 3 months, and why it's taken me about 2-3 years of progressive work on myself and progressive health building, hey Julie, to get even to the point where I was at, and why I'd take 3 steps forward and a couple steps back, and fatigue was a constant issue for me. So we'll never know the answers to all these questions, but those are a couple things that I've sort of been thinking about in terms of correlation and how my body works. And so I'm just really thankful for where the past years that I have really been building up my health, because, you know, if you're going to be faced with something like this, you want to be as healthy as possible. Hey Vicki, hey Hannah. And so one of the things, you know, I was talking to my mom about the other day is, like, in the Bible, it says how God, he would like put scales over people's eyes, or he would put a veil over people, or he wouldn't let them see certain things. And a lot of my family has been like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't see this. You know, it's in your neck, it's pretty big, it's not like you wear turtlenecks, all this kind of stuff. And looking back into pictures, I'm really surprised that looking at the picture, I didn't see it either. I really just feel like God was protecting us, so to speak, until my body was at a healthy place, and until we were mentally, emotionally, and physically able to handle a situation like this. And then he let the veil come off, and we were all able to see it at the appropriate time. So I think that everything I did over the past few years was really important for my long-term health. Hi Kathy. And so I'm glad I did it. So the past few weeks, we've been dealing with mentally and emotionally navigating through this diagnosis, and I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that it's been super easy and that I've had a super positive attitude the whole time, because I haven't. It's been very hard. Hey Tara. Oh hey Tara. So it has been really hard, and there have been lots of crying moments. A couple of those have happened really when I think about doing conventional treatment and going through the chemo process, and when I learn more information about that. So there's just some things that really shocked me in terms of, one, a lot of the integrative and functional practitioners and more holistic minded people that I've talked to or spoken to have actually said that chemotherapy is definitely something I should consider for treatment. We have not gotten the treatment plan, by the way, yet. A lot of people have been asking me that. And so we haven't gotten that yet, but we will soon, and I'll update you on that shortly. And then you kind of find out, like, oh, well, of course, if you go down that road, your hair is going to fall out. And I was like, oh, okay, it's just hair. I know it's just hair. But I've tried to grow it out. Like, you see how long it is right now? I've been working on this sucker for like 3 years. So the concept of going back to scratch is so frustrating to me. So, that was a little emotional. And then I got over that, and I'm like, well, it's just hair, and I can wear a wig, and that wig would be better than my normal hair. Hey, Shelly. And so then I kind of adjusted to that, and then I discovered that chemotherapy can damage your ovaries, and there's actually a pretty high risk to eliminate your fertility ability. And I literally just finally balanced my hormones, got everything on track, felt great, and was feeling super positive about where my fertility ability was headed or at. And so a lot of you don't know this, but when I met Patrick, I was kind of like, I don't really want to have any more kids. Hey, Casey. And, hope you're okay with that. I always wanted to adopt, so being a stepmom to Keegan was like the perfect situation to me. And he was like, okay, cool, one and done, right? For the past year or so, we've been talking about maybe the door opening, maybe having kids, and that was huge for me, and it was this huge mental block, and I had all these fears associated with it. Thinking about it now, it's like, come on, that was stupid. So I had all these fears associated with it, and I just wasn't sure. And I really started talking about, hey, well, when I fix my gut, because I didn't really want to get pregnant and then pass on some stuff to my baby, and I sometimes like when you have things like I had H. pylori, that can make you have a lot of morning sickness and nausea and things. And so I was like, well, I want to get healthy first, so that if I do get pregnant, my body can handle it and I can have a healthy baby as much as possible. And so I was like, well, I'll look at my tests. I've done a lot of work, and when I feel like they're good enough, then we can talk about getting pregnant. And we had literally just started talking about maybe trying, and I get the cancer diagnosis, and then I find out that it can damage your ovaries, and if you even want to have kids at all, you probably have to freeze your eggs and go through an unnatural process to have children. So first of all, thank goodness for medical technology, but secondly, that was a huge blow to me. So I didn't get on here to talk about that, but if people are watching this after the fact or stumble across this as part of the cancer journey, the emotional part of mental process of preparing for what may happen to your body is, I think, just as shocking as the news that you have cancer. So there's a lot that goes into that. So if you're somebody that knows somebody that has cancer, that may be, something you can offer support in, because emotionally it's been extremely hard to navigate. Hey, Amy. But the past few days, Patrick and I have been doing much better. I think that there was maybe I just didn't get any new news the past couple days, or maybe there was a switch that kind of flipped in my mind. I don't know, but I kind of went back to living life as normal. Part of that is because we have a diagnosis and we also have the next step. So I wanted to share those with you for everybody who's been following me and wants to know. We got an official diagnosis, so I got the biopsy. He said he thought it was Hodgkins. He then took a tissue biopsy, sent it away, called me back, said still looks like Hodgkins. The tumor is malignant, which means cancerous, and we're still waiting on a final couple tests to come back. So he called me and said, yeah, it's definitely Hodgkins. I need to now subtype it. So subtyping means there's Hodgkins, and then there's 5 different kinds of Hodgkins. And for those of you who haven't seen my previous videos, Hodgkins means that there's a Reed-Sternberg cell. It's a very specific cell that differentiates Hodgkins from non-Hodgkins. And so you have to have that cell present, and then within Hodgkins you can have 5 strains or 5 differentiations of the cancer. Mine happens to be nodular sclerosis, which, it's funny to say this, is the most common form of Hodgkins. And the reason I say that's funny is because Hodgkins is less than 1% of all people that get cancer get Hodgkins. So it's already an extremely rare cancer, but if you have to have it, I have the most common form of the rarest cancer. So that's where we are, and what's interesting is I wanted to talk, I put on here about talking about being your own advocate. For me, that means doing an excessive amount of research. That means researching what my cancer is, what differentiates it from non-Hodgkin's, what potentially is going to happen, what alternative treatments there are. Can they be done alone? Do they have to be done in conjunction? Getting second opinions, telling my next specialist when he called me and told me that he was going to refer me to an oncologist. Part of me being my own advocate was being on the phone with him and saying, okay, I don't know how well you know this person that you're referring me to, but I just want you to know that I need somebody that's okay with me really believing in nutrition and utilizing this throughout the process, because that's where I'm at, that's what I believe, that's what I'm going to do. So I just don't want an oncologist that's gonna put that down, you know. And there's so many great oncologists out there. I'm not, you know, making this broad sweeping statement that, you know, oh, most oncologists would poo-poo that, but you've heard a lot of stories about that, where people are using nutrition through the process, or using vitamin IVs, or using whatever it is that makes them feel better physically, mentally, and emotionally, and helps them get through the process. And, you know, I heard a story the other day. This lady had cancer. She had stage 4 cancer. She had to get chemo, and she took like she was very, very holistic and natural, kind of like me, and did like yoga and raw foods and all this kind of stuff. Hi, Angie. Hi, Kristen. And she was telling a story about how her hair did not fall out, and they kept telling her it's going to fall out, it's going to fall out, and she's like, finally my doctor asked, your hair's not falling out, what are you doing? And she said, I'm drinking a shot of wheatgrass every day. And he's like, oh, okay. And she was like, what, you don't think that makes a difference? And he said, not really, but you can keep doing it if it makes you feel better. Hey, Mary. Hey, Kim. So you hear a lot of stories like that. So I just wanted to be proactive when my doctor was referring me to an oncologist, and say, hey, just, you know, so you know, I need somebody like this, somebody that's going to support me on this journey. If I'm going to do the nutritional aspect of it, I don't want to be, you know, that's another stressor that you just don't have to deal with in this already stressful world, right? So he was like, oh no, she's vegetarian, she works out, I know her personally, she's super nice. So what's funny about this is that's great. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I need to have, and I told him, I said, I'm going to go to CTCA in Chicago, but I still need a local oncologist. So cool. Hi, Crystal. So he was like, yeah, okay, so I'll refer you. That was mid last week, and I still haven't gotten a call from them. Now, normally I'd be much more proactive, and I would have already called to get her number and schedule myself, but I'm going to California this weekend from Thursday to Monday on a business trip that was already scheduled, and then we're going to CTCA. So because of that, I'm not in too much of a hurry, but it is a little concerning that she hasn't called me yet, so I don't know about that. So anyways, in addition to a lot of research and being open to different options and therapies and treatments and all this kind of stuff, even ones that maybe I'm uncomfortable with or are out of my comfort zone, so to speak, we are going to the Cancer Treatment Center of America March 3 through 6. And what's amazing about them, and after the story I just told you, this is extra exciting, is, you know, being here, there's a lot of sit around and wait, right? You go to an appointment, you sit around and wait for a call. You go get a test, you sit around and wait for the results. You get a referral, you sit around and wait for them to call you. Now, a lot of times I've been able to call and kind of speed things up, but there's still a lot of waiting involved, and you're not really in control of the process, and it takes time. And this is just such a journey emotionally anyways. It's like, if you can cut it short, that's helpful. So we decided to look at a bunch of different options, but also we were recommended by several people to get second, third, however many opinions we want. So we were going to go to Cancer Treatment Center of America for a second opinion. And one thing that's really nice about them is that they actually fly you out. So we're going to go to the one in Chicago. So they actually fly you out, and then they put you up in a hotel, and then within 3 days, so we're going to be there from I think it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday situation. And so basically we're going to go in and meet them, and then get any additional tests we need. That actually includes, for me, the PET scan, the PET scan. So that's going to help with staging, because we haven't gotten a stage. We did get the type, but we haven't gotten the stage yet. So we need to determine it's the nodular sclerosis Hodgkins lymphoma, but is it stage 1, 2, 3, 4? And so the PET scan will help us do that. So right now I only have a CT scan that shows that lymph node, shows the size. The only other thing that showed up on that lymph node was one other lymph node that's maybe a fifth of the size. So based on that, I would be, and my other blood markers that are like spot on, I would be very hopeful that it's stage 1, stage 2, that it hasn't really spread, but the PET scan will help us with that. So what's nice about Chicago is basically they fly you out, they book you, you meet all the specialists, all the doctors, you get any additional testing you need, bing, bang, boom, you have all the information plus the treatment plan in 3 days, and then they send you home. So depending on what the process is, you may need to come back for treatment, you may get the treatment and take it home, just sort of depends. So what we're going to do, so we're going to get an opinion from them, and it'll expedite some things. I need to get the PET scan anyways, which is great. So that'll be really helpful. And then we're also trying to get into OSU right now. The James Cancer Center, I have heard, is really amazing. I've heard a lot of really, really great things about them. Now, the nice thing about Cancer Treatment Center in Chicago is they seem to be very open to integrative therapies. So my holistic lifestyle, the way I'm going to work with my nutrition, things like that, they have nutritionists, so they're very open to that sort of combined therapy, which is really nice and what I need. And I've heard that people like me who are super, hi Annie, hi Raleigh, people that are like me who are like super into it have gone there and felt very comfortable about working with them. So that's one reason that we're really interested in seeing, not just getting a second opinion, but also kind of meeting the team and getting a vibe from them. So then we want to go to OSU again, partially for a second, third opinion, but also really what we're trying to do is find a team that we vibe with and we feel really comfortable with. Because let's say Cancer Treatment Center in Chicago we love and their treatment plan is great, and then we go to OSU and we like them just as much and their treatment plan is the same, well, we could drive to them as opposed to fly out. So there's just a lot of things to consider. So obviously we don't have a treatment plan yet, but we're going to meet the teams and kind of decide. Now the PET scan will have a lot to do with that as well in terms of you know, how aggressive we want to be. So I did tell Patrick the other day, I said, if the PET scan shows that my tumor has stayed the same or maybe gotten smaller, then I think I want to give maybe some alternative treatment or some nutrition a little bit more time to see if it works, to see if it makes any difference at all. But of course, if it's a further stage, if it's like stage 3 or 4, we may choose to do a more aggressive treatment, jump right into chemo, and then just use integrative supportive therapies to help my body through the process. So I just kind of wanted to say that because I know a lot of people have been asking what, you know, and praying for my decision on this too. So that's kind of the conclusion we've come to. If it's not a huge rush, I want to give my body some time, because obviously, like I said, this has been in my body at least at minimum since 2016. So I have a feeling that we're going to have some time to deal with this. But if we find out that it's further advanced, then I think it is. You know, I am open to more aggressive treatments and getting it done quickly. So that's kind of where we're at on that. So today I had a funny story. I went to Starbucks and with my girlfriend. You saw that post earlier. And she and I met back in 2015 when I started kind of trying to figure out my hormones. And we were in this hormone group together. And it was like how to learn about your hormones and balance them naturally and all this kind of stuff. And they assigned you buddies, or like allowed you to kind of like do a little post and be like, hey, I need a buddy, and they were supposed to be your support system through the process. So I met this girl, Hope, and she is just so cool. We texted and we kind of met up and did video chats or whatever during the program, became friends. So we kept in contact, and she's just been super awesome, like, since all of this has happened in the past couple months. And so she was in town, and we were able to hang out this morning. And so one of the things, obviously, that I'm trying to do over the past several weeks is really be more strict on my diet. So here's the overall, and I'll get to the Starbucks story in a minute, but here's the overall where I'm at. I'm pretty much meat-free, so I'm pretty much vegetarian. Now, just to clarify, I don't think that meat causes cancer, especially when you're talking about grass-fed, pasture-raised, organic meats. But when you have a tumor, there are things to consider in terms of promoting its growth. And so a lot of people really encourage you to avoid red meats or meat in general and go really heavy vegetarian, plant-based diet. So pretty much what I'm doing right now is plant-based totally. I'll have some eggs once or twice a week. I might have some meat depending on, you know, where I am or what I'm doing. I'm doing a lot of salads, smoothies, juices for sure, raw vegetables, cooked vegetables. I'm trying to mix it up between all of that so I get a lot of variety. I'm doing the Budwig protocol. I'm doing Shakeology once a day, which is pretty much vegan protein and collagen. I'll add some collagen. It's got a lot of veggies in it too. So pretty much vegetables and Budwig is pretty much where I'm at. And then sometimes I'll do things like potatoes, a gluten-free piece of toast. This morning I had some oatmeal, gluten-free oatmeal, so stuff like that. So that's pretty much where I'm at on that. So I am definitely trying to limit my sugar as much as possible, so nothing adds sugar in it, maybe a tiny little bit of honey here and there. I'm adding stevia to my Budwig, pretty much to make that tolerable, to be honest. So I went to Starbucks and I was like, oh, okay, well, what am I going to have to drink? Well, one of the things I'm trying to incorporate is green tea, because everything says green tea, green tea, green tea when you have cancer. And there's a lot of really beneficial properties in green tea. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll get some green tea. And so I was looking at their green teas, and again, this goes into being your own advocate. Sometimes it's a pain in the ass, you guys, but you have to do your own research. Look things up, read labels, spend time asking questions or doing whatever it is to get the information that you need. So sometimes it's a pain in the rear, like reading, Googling nutrition labels for Starbucks beverages. And so I was like, okay, well, green tea should be easy, right? No, like their basic iced green tea, I think they add syrup to it and has 11 grams of sugar. You get into, I was like, oh, well, they have like a matcha latte, so maybe that's just like their matcha with some coconut milk. Well, it turns out the coconut milk, the second ingredient in their coconut milk is sugar. One of the ingredients in their almond milk is also sugar. So even trying to make a more informed choice of doing like a non-dairy milk, the milk itself has sugar. And then if you do something like the matcha latte, you're probably going to get, I can't remember if it was that one or another one, but there was one that I think had like 30 to 40 grams of sugar in that one beverage. And that wasn't even like the tall venti, that was like the grande. So I thought, oh my gosh, okay, so I'm trying to avoid sugar. I definitely don't want to splurge this morning because I'm going to California. I don't know how much control I'm going to have over, at least to the extent that I do now at home. I can still make good choices, obviously, but I want to like save up my account, so to speak, for when I'm gone and don't have as much control. So I didn't want to splurge, so I had to ask them, can I have like a plain green tea ice? She's like, okay, I'll make a note to not put syrup in it or whatever. So that's just something to know, something to think about is if you are trying to better your health or you're trying to be informed, make sure you ask questions, because that's something where if you just ordered an iced green tea, you'd almost automatically get that syrup put in there. And when you Google and you look at the ingredients, not only does it have, 10, 11, 15, 20 grams of sugar in it, but those syrups have all these other ingredients and all these other chemicals. So it's really easy to think, well, I'm just going to get a latte, right? It's basically like coffee, milk, and maybe a flavor syrup like vanilla or something like that. Amy, I know, it's so crazy. So you think I'm going to get a latte. It's like 3 ingredients. That's healthy, right? 3 ingredients. You're supposed to look and do like 5 ingredients or less. No big deal. But the milk itself has sugar in it, which I just figured out. And then the syrups have usually like 5, 10, 15 ingredients in them. And a lot of them are chemicals and things that we don't want in our body. So when you're trying to detoxify and, not get exposed to things that affect your hormones or, whatever it is, not get sugar in your body or whatever, for whatever purpose you are trying to achieve, being your own advocate and reading those labels and asking those questions, that's really, really important. So I just mentioned detox in that past sentence, and I wanted to share with you. So yesterday, I totally did not necessarily mean to like set aside a specific day for like a cancer spa day, but I had some time available yesterday because probably because I was like keeping it free because I'm leaving tomorrow, and so I was probably keeping these couple days free. And so I had a vitamin IV. I had to prepare for my trip to give me a little boost. I had a 30-minute sauna session, and I had, what else I have? Oh, I had a massage. So it was like major detox day for me, and I had the biggest headache last night. Oh my gosh, you guys, it was so awful. I did not feel good. And then I was like, oh, I'm detoxing. That's actually really good. It's miserable, but it's so good. So I'm trying to do as much as I can. Vegetables, no sugar, sauna. I'm sweating out in the infrared sauna. I'm doing all those things. But something to know, whether you're going through, like my clients will go through, pretty intense gut protocols to knock off some bad bugs that are causing problems in their bodies, things like that. So if you're doing like a gut protocol, if you're eliminating sugar, if you are going to a sauna, if you're doing massage, whatever it is that you're doing, if it's more intense than what you're normally doing, you might go through a little bit of a detox. And sometimes if it's too fast for your body to eliminate at the rate at which you're detoxing, you can get symptoms. So you can get things like headaches and all the brain fog and fatigue and all this kind of stuff. And that, oh my gosh, you guys, I had a headache yesterday. I was so tired multiple times during the day. So I did take some binders throughout the day, but ultimately just going to bed and getting some rest, drinking a ton of water, that's so helpful. But anyways, that's kind of where I am at. So we have my trip this weekend. I'm really, really excited to get some sunshine, to try to relax, to hang around other women. This is a business trip, so I'm going to learn a lot and come back and knock it out of the park this year with my business. It's already, by the way, my nutrition program is up and running right now. I have some people running through it, and I'm really loving it. It's so much fun. I'm going to launch it again in April. So if you guys were thinking about doing it in February and just didn't have a chance, April is the next launch. So I'm doing this business trip. I'm going to soak up the sun. I'm going to try to relax, and then pretty much we're going to be home for maybe 2-3 days, and then we are off to Chicago for an opinion and treatment plan, and then to see where what stage my cancer is in, and then from there we will have to make some decisions. So prayers for that, and thank you guys for all your support, and I appreciate it, and I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. Bye.